beautiful. Welcome to the carnival. I'm the ringleader now. You won't hear a sound at all as I bury you 6 feet under.
Hey, sexy, and welcome to Naked Relationships Post-Trauma, the podcast where vulnerability meets raw truth. I'm your host, Angela Spooner. I'm a trauma-informed coach. I have a nursing degree. I'm a single mother of 3 awesome children who have their own trauma, and I'm also the founder of Unabashedly You. So I have over 15 years of emotional, physical, sexual, and verbal abuse from my past. Through all of that, I had to learn how to heal my relationships with myself and with my loved ones, all while learning how to help my children heal from their past and be the best mom I could be. In this podcast, I will be stripping away the masks we wear and dive deep into the heart of what it means to heal and rebuild your relationship with yourself and others after experiencing trauma. I've created this space for honest, unfiltered conversations about the challenges and breakthroughs of navigating relationships post-trauma. Whether it's learning to trust again, managing triggers, connecting with yourself, lowering your anxiety, or redefining love and intimacy, we will explore all of it. Join us as we uncover tools, insights, and stories that will help you heal the way you react, connect, but also see the world and loved ones around you. Hi, guys. So, I first and foremost want to welcome you to the rebranded podcast, Naked Relationships Post-Trauma. Now, in the past, I have been focusing my primary focus mainly on books, right? With reading The Body Keeps the Score. Here's the thing, though. In order to truly heal, it's not just about reading, it's about experiencing. So I decided, or rather I pondered, what exactly is it that I could shift in my business, but also in my podcast so I can feel genuine and real and raw. And I know I'm known for being real and raw, but here's the fucking problem with that, okay? True vulnerability is talking about the shit we don't want to fucking talk about. It's talking about my personal experiences and how I've been through it. It's not about what somebody else perceives. It's about what I perceive and what I process and what you process, right? Who gives a fuck what anyone else thinks? I mean, granted, you do want to listen to any and all advice. I will say that first and foremost. However, you listen to it all and you take what you choose through that. So that being said, welcome to basically my 2.0 podcast version where we're going to be getting to the good shit. Okay, we are talking about triggers galore. You are going to be, sometimes you're going to feel triggered. Sometimes you're going to be like, fuck you, Angela. Sometimes you're going to be like, oh my God, yes, girl, yes. Yes, queen, right? But here's the biggest takeaway. I want you to truly feel heard and truly feel like what I'm saying is connecting to your fucking soul because you deserve it. So notice, I have no lights on in here. If you're watching, if you're just listening, then you obviously don't notice that, unless you can hear it in my voice that it's dark over here. Anyways, I digress. So that being said, we are going to go through again, I know I talk about this in my very first episode. However, I want to connect with who that version of me. Because here's the problem. What we do is that we go through experiences and then we sit there and we say, we're good now. Or we sit there and we say, I'm good, but everybody else is fucked up. Oh, my husband or my significant other or my lack of significant other or my friends or my boss. We blame everybody else that has any sort of relationship with us, but we cannot take that accountability for ourselves. Why? Because it is easier to put the blame than to accept the shame. See what I did there? That you have put onto yourself. You see, I've talked about how my ex that was a gangster, a drug dealer, I talked about how he abused me, but I didn't connect. And if you are to truly feel connected with me in this podcast, I have to get to the stories that hurt, the times that he was dating another woman while he was dating me, and I ignored it because he said that I was delusional. And how many times have we sat there in a relationship and we fucking know the actual truth, but we just don't want to deal with it? Am I right? We want to sit there and say all the excuses. Well, I'm just picky. Well, I'm just not going to let another person act that way. Men are stupid. Men are fucking retarded. Men are pieces of shit. We generalize so that we don't have to neutralize. We don't connect because connecting means that we have to open our hearts to the fact that he would tell me that I was too much. I would work 2 jobs just to give him my paychecks. I hated myself, and yet I still did it. He got another woman pregnant while he was with me, and I didn't find out until he went to jail. And I said, no, he would never. She did a paternity test. Let me tell you, he called me from jail, and he tells me, babe, they're lying to you. They're fucking lying, that fucking slut. It's like, okay, but she did a paternity test. And at this point, I'm just like, the emotions are just null and void. And he was like, oh, the paternity test lied. Like, honestly, bro. I mean, that's actually when I broke up with him, but it was also because I was terrified. When he was in jail, he would threaten me for everything. He threatened my family. He threatened my very existence. He would always tell me, guess what's going to happen once you get out if you don't help me? Hell, I got charged with 13 felonies. 13, and spent my 21st birthday in jail for that piece of shit. And I stayed with him the whole time. You see, it's not enough to talk about how to heal if you don't even understand my perspective. I know we love to show our strengths. We love to show that we are the most wonderful person, that we're so confident and self-assured, but the The fact of the matter is that we're all just fucked up and all just trying to figure shit out. I can't tell you how many times I was so angry with myself after him. The times that he stomped on my face, that he held me at gunpoint and beat me with his gun because I wouldn't give him head in front of his friends. The times that he beat me because his friends would try to have sex with me and I would tell them no and they tell him that they had sex with me. The emotions of no control. If I cannot connect with you and be truly vulnerable, then why the fuck would you even listen to anything I have to say? It's funny because I tell my story to people and they sit there and say, holy shit, like, girl, how are you alive? Yeah, I know I tell myself that every fucking day. How am I alive? Why am I alive? When you have a man stomp on your head and your face because you give somebody a ride and it's one of his little homies and she goes inside a building and gives a counterfeit 20 and you tell her it's a counterfeit 20 and she says, no, it's fine. And she uses it, gets arrested. I'm still in the car. And so I leave, and when I go see him afterwards, he blames me and threw me on the ground and stomped on my head over and over as he laughed and called me an idiot. There's no greater shame than a man treating you that way and feeling like it's all your fault while his friends sit there and watched. There's no greater shame than walking from one town to another in the hot Arizona sun in the middle of summer because he kicks you out of your car without your phone, without your water, and threatens to beat the shit out of you if you even have anybody give you a ride. And that fear, that fucking fear is so strong that you get there sweat drenched and hurting, and you see him, and all he does is tell you that you stink. You see, I've never truly opened up and been vulnerable with you all. I've never truly told you that pain of feeling so alone, like nobody would understand you. It is the worst pain. And then when you finally do break up with this man after beating, oh, I totally forgot. He also gave me chlamydia after he slept around. And then I had the pills for the treatment. And the lady that prescribed them was like, honey, I don't really know what's going on here, but there's no other way to get chlamydia than somebody cheating. And I really don't think that you're the cause. And I just blew her off. When I saw him, he took the pills from me and told me to call the doctor and ask for new ones. I had to make up a whole story. I tell you, when I say I'm fucking resourceful, I had to be resourceful. Now, being resourceful is second nature. But that fear of having to be resourceful, there's no greater fear. There's no greater fear than fear itself. And once I finally broke things off with him, and there's other relationships, but the two that stuck out the most was him and my ex after him, which my ex-husband. I met him shortly after my shortly after I broke up with my ex. And I didn't understand healing or anything like that. I was like, you know what? I'm resilient. I'm moving on, right? That's what we do. I'm resilient. I'm moving on. Right. The only problem with that is that shit kept happening to me. It kept happening and happening. So I get with my ex-husband. He gets me pregnant, which later on, he tells me when my daughter, my oldest, who was 5 at the time, he told me that the whole time he's saying it was an uh-oh, right? Oh, I did the pull-out method, right? And I'm just so naive, I swear. Like, now I look at back on the things and I have to give myself grace because I'm like, good God, Angela. Now with my education, my background, my trainings, I'm like, man, there's so many things. But we live, we learn, we grow. So anyways, so he tells me when she's 5 that he wants to fess up and tell me that he did it on purpose. He came inside me on purpose so that he could, basically, he did it so that he could say that he did it and so that he could lock me in. How fucking sick, And so he was all the things, sweet, kind, right? The day after we got married, he wanted to hang out with his mom. And mind you, I'm 5 months pregnant. He wanted us to go over to her house and hang out with her. And we only had one day, because we're both pretty broke, to be able to have our little honeymoon time, right? And he wanted to spend it with his mom. And I was like, I don't know if you understand the issue of this. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, is he fucking kidding me right now? Like, I don't want to hang out with your mom. You got this in front of you. I'm not trying to be big-headed, but fuck. That was the first time he beat me. That was the first time we were outside of a park and he just kept hitting me and hitting me and he wouldn't stop. And then I finally broke out of the car and I remember going in the middle of the grass field at a park and just screaming out loud, like, why? What did I get into? Now, this is a man that when I passed out from lack of hydration while pregnant, they had to give me 4 bags of fluid, which, by the way, I don't care who you are, you know that 4 bags is a lot. And he comes in and the first thing he says to me, the first thing, so can you put on makeup every now and then? I'm laying on the bed like half dead over here, right? I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, oh, can you put on makeup? Yeah, sure. Did you bring my makeup bag? Yeah, totally. Right? And then we were on and off for so long. And he wasn't just physically abusive. He was emotionally abusive, verbally abusive in so many ways. He loved to degrade me. He would buy me outfits to wear and say, I just want you to look sexy. And some of them, I was like, I don't feel comfortable wearing that. I just don't. And he's like, no, wear it. I was like, okay, well, I'm your wife and I just don't want people to get the wrong impression. He's like, just wear it. And then we'd go and he would flip out at anybody that looked at me, call me a whore, and beat the shit out of me. But not until he would do this thing with his fists And he'd give me this look where he had his pursed lips. I'm sure that any of you that have experienced an physically abusive relationship has seen this, where they purse their lips and they kind of squint their eyes, but it's kind of a smile, like you know what's coming. And they clench their fists and their arms are straight. That is the look of someone that really is about to beat your ass, no matter what you do or say. This man, now I'm not going to go into super specifics because I really want to get to the heart of these things and guide to understanding on healing and growth and what the fuck is wrong with us, right? Hey, gorgeous. So I just wanted to pop in real quick and tell you about my 12-week Connected Relationships camp. Now, originally this was the transformation camp, but I wanted to really get to the soul of this. We will be working on your extreme acceptance of who you are, acceptance of where you've been, and acceptance of the future. We'll be going over Katrina the Destroyer and what it is that's actually destroying your relationships. We'll go through the emotional damage and how your emotions have literally been damaged throughout the years and how to reconnect and feel fulfilled in those relationships again. We will learn how to boldly face your fears and become your own best friend. I want you to have flawless acceptance. Flawless. As in, you don't see your flaws. You just see you. And you accept all of it. Because the ultimate goal is to help you become connected with yourself and free to connect with others. I believe in you, but it's not enough for me to believe in you. You have to believe in you. If you're interested in learning more about this, I invite you to schedule a call with me. I look forward to hearing from you. Enjoy the rest of the episode. But I just want to give you an idea of what actually my past is about. We can say we've been through abuse and we've been through this, but do we connect with that girl that was sitting there praying to God to help you, and he's supposed to be your husband and he's bashing your face in with his foot, just kicking you and laughing while he's holding your children in his arms that are also his children and saying, you'll never get to see your mom again. And then when you text a friend and they're talking shit to you and saying, hey, it's a coworker, and they're talking shit to you and saying, hey, like, are you going to come to work today? Like, yeah, dude, I'm coming. And you're like laughing, you're smiling, but you're laughing internally, but you don't dare not laugh outwardly, right? Because your abuser, if they hear you laughing with anybody other than them, they're going to beat your ass. They're going to beat your fucking ass. And that fear inside of you, when you see that they're coming around the corner as you're looking at your phone. You see them coming around the corner, so they see you smiling at your phone. What's the first thing, ladies? What's the first thing that an abuser says? Who the fuck is that? Right? Who the fuck is that on the phone? And then you try to explain, but you already know there's nothing you can do or say because it's going to happen. And he started screaming at me and calling me a whore and a dumb cunt and stupid bitch and just kind of pushing me around, wasn't getting too aggressive, right? And then I'm trying to grab my bag from the closet and he grabs me and he hit me right on my spine. And I fell and I couldn't get up because he had hit me so hard. I saw stars, and he had done it numerous times before. And there had been times that he's even knocked me unconscious for just a few seconds, where he's thrown me through a wall 8 months pregnant, where he's thrown me down and I hit a block, a wood block, with the back of my head and it knocked me out. He's even abused me around his friends who are supposed to be upstanding people, right? Yeah, no. Notice what kind of friends that people have around them. They would just watch. I mean, hell, after we got divorced, they were literally trying to hit on me. And then again, they didn't get what they wanted, so they told him after we're divorced that I slept with them. And then one of them, their wife was supposed to be my best friend. She had actually seen my ex-husband abuse me and call me horrendous names, drag me around by my hair, demean me in so many ways. And she told me that because I didn't press charges, that she didn't believe me. And she thought I was just a slut. It's crazy, right? It's crazy, the fear. Because I don't believe for a second that she actually thought I was a slut. I think it was easier for her to believe that I was a slut than it was to believe that her husband would do something like that, would try to sleep with her best friend. So back to my story, when he had hit me and I couldn't get up, I was crying for God. I kept saying, God, can you help me? God, can you help me? And he said, God can't help you anymore. And he said, get the fuck up, bitch. And I was like, I can't move. And he was like, get up or I'm gonna make you get up. And he grabbed my hair and he dragged me across the floor. And my kids are crying. And he's just telling them that I'm the problem, that mommy made him upset. And, you know, it feels so good to be able to cry about it, to cry about it because you love that girl and you feel so sorry that you let her get hurt for all those years. He would take care of me. After that incident, I couldn't move my arms or legs for a couple days. Everything just hurt and was numb. And of course, he wouldn't take me to the hospital, right? Because then he'd have to explain why he did. But you know how abusers do it, right? Where they sit there and they say, hit me back. I deserve it. Fucking shit. And he told the kids that time, he said, your mom, she's sick, so I'm not working so I can take care of her. Fucking Like, fucking for real, dude. You know? But even after we got divorced, I had to co-parent with him, and I thought it would work out. I thought that we were past all that we just move on. He kept pictures of me, videos of me. He was engaged to another woman and was years later and was telling me, if you'd ever give me a chance, like, dude, just please go away, right? And then when I graduated nursing school, and I know I've talked about this before, but when I graduated, I thought I had all this money saved and I was going to make a new future for my children. And he could not live with that. He couldn't. He had to switch it up and make it about me. And that's what happened with that whole DCS case. He switched it up. He made it about, he told the kids, if you love daddy, and they're so young and so impressionable, and he's so manipulative. If you love daddy, you'll tell them that mommy did this and mommy did that. And it's crazy because even though I followed all the steps they wanted me to do, that man was so good at schmoozing that even when the kids are talking about him abusing them in supervised visits with me, the lady supervising it is filing a complaint herself, and the DCS worker is telling me that I'm coercing them. Do you know that feeling of fear, of utter despair? And everybody's telling you, you're so smart. Just be a nurse. Just forget it if the kids want to lie about you. And you can't, because they're your children and you love them, So you fight for them and you fight for them. And then once you get them, you're so happy and you just want your kids to be happy with you. But the problem is that the damage that he did while he was with my kids, my son would kick me and laugh. I had a bad knee and he'd kick it and then wait until I started to tear up and then he'd start laughing. My daughter would abuse me because she couldn't process her emotions, and her dad always called her stupid and dumb and worthless. And no matter what I did, nothing was working. My middle daughter, who was the reason DCS was involved in the first place, because of him, he tried to switch everything on to me and say I never told him about anything or warned him about anything. And I know I'm being vague, but again, it's not my place to tell that story. But I will say that there was a lot of anger from her for not understanding. And children watch you. They watch who you are, how you act, how you react, the things you say, the things you do. You are their primary focus on what to do and what not to do. So when you're sitting there and you have so much bitterness because you've had to fight for so many fucking years, you don't even realize how cold you've become, how dismissive you've become. Your empathy is gone. You don't even understand what the fuck empathy is. You see, we've talked about trauma and how it affects your brain, but we've never really experienced in these podcasts what it does to your soul, where you want so badly to connect, but you don't even understand that you're the problem. You think if just your kids would be more understanding, if just your kids would do this, if just your kids would shut up, if just your boyfriend would understand what you're saying, if just that date that you go on, if he were only more mysterious, if he were only more aggressive, if he were only more handsome. We have all of these standards, but they all go back to one thing: you. We want to blame everybody else and say that everybody else is not enough. Because the fact of the matter is that we are unwilling to accept that we have not been enough for ourselves for years. We try to do everything. We go to classes, we go to seminars, we do certifications. We want raises at work. We work 2 jobs because we're trying to fucking prove to everyone how worthy we are. But we still haven't gotten it yet. We still can't understand that when we make jokes about trauma and we think it's so funny to laugh about our kids being assholes and we just call them little assholes, we don't really understand the damage that we are doing in our lives. You see, it wasn't until I accepted that I needed to change that change began to happen in my life. It wasn't until I realized that I had triggers and I had a past and I accepted that my past was now part of me that I was able to connect with myself and therefore connect with my children, find a relationship where I was so confused because it was so healthy. We are so used to and comfortable in the ways that we've done things, that we put all of our energies into our children so that we can say we're not going to be like our parents that used to tell us that we weren't good enough and used to control everything about us. We want so badly to be accepted that we've lost the entire fucking point. Why? Why aren't we able to see that? Because the greatest fear is fear itself. That's why I call my monthly membership the BFF Society, because it's all about boldly facing your fears. And we're not talking about arachnophobia or agoraphobia, whatever, right? We're talking about our fears of being vulnerable. I mean, how long have I had this podcast and I've never even shared some of this stuff with you? Because we are afraid. We are so afraid of opening up. What if somebody doesn't accept me? What if somebody doesn't understand? If you cannot connect with you, do not fucking expect anybody else to. If you see another person who is pissing you off, instead of saying, I hate when they piss me off, wonder why they piss you off. It's all about getting curious. It's all about wanting to change, knowing that you can change, knowing that it's necessary. You can have the best relationship in the world and say, I've got a great guy now, Angela. And how often do you actually connect with that great guy? How often do you allow yourself to feel your own emotions? How often do you allow yourself to cry? How often do you apologize to your kids for not communicating? If you have been through any kind of trauma and you want to fucking sit there and say that I want to protect my kids, so I'm not going to, that is not what protection is. Protection is letting your kids know what's out there in the world. Protection is getting your hands dirty with telling your kids the hard fucking facts, but holding them in those facts, educating them. When you were little, did you want to be gaslit all the time? No. You wanted your parents to tell you shit, right? To actually tell you their shit. We make diagnoses for our parents, but we don't fucking know because we don't talk to them. We don't try to understand them because it's easier to say that their way is wrong than to say that it's not about wrong or right. People are just people who have shit. That in and of itself. We all have shit, so just accept you have shit. So I'm super excited. I know I just shifted, but I'm super excited for the future. I'm excited for my future, but I'm also excited for your future because I'm finally honing in on who I am and what I've been through and accepting that not everybody's going to accept me. Not everybody is going to want to hear me or want to be a part of my world. But that's the whole point, is that not everybody is. But the people that will get me and get my story are the people who have been through that shit themselves. I want you to learn to want you. That's all. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Won't hear a sound at all as I bury you 6 feet underground.